I've instructed the head of the VA to go out and buy a lot of it, and we are buying a lot of it. Hopefully we're getting it at a very good cost. And this is I guess it's a form of a stimulant where if somebody is really in trouble, it can do something. It's pretty well known, just came out. It's made, I believe, by Johnson & Johnson, and we have calls in now to Johnson & Johnson. Those calls, we've been dealing with them for 2 months on buying a lot of it.
Yo, what's up? We're coming at you live from Providence Road Vibeland.
We are vibing. We have vibes going.
Welcome to the hometown of author H.P. Lovecraft.
Howard Phillips Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft. We were recording this episode live from his grave. We are all
We
gathered.
should go see the grave.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do it. That story Patton told is so funny. About how
Here to
you
see
go
the
there and
Monster
if you
Man?
look confused, the lady goes, "You're here to see the Monster Man?" I would like to reenact that.
Coming to you live from Providence, Rhode Island. We are, of course, here to do our live Call of Cthulhu role-playing sesh at Necronomicon, a citywide event in the city of Providence, which has H.P. Lovecraft and honestly not much else. Certainly not beer after 10 o'clock in the evening.
Fucking New England, man. These fucking Puritans.
But for this episode, I think we're going to do some classic Chapo. You know, we've been talking about, obviously, the Democratic primary heating up. We've been talking about Joe Biden's senility, Kamala Harris's walking back Medicare for all. But we gotta return to the guy.
Lord forgive us, we're back on our bullshit.
We're back to the bullshit. Our guy.
The big boy.
The big
beautiful boy. We got to talk about him, folks. He is redlining. Over the last 48 hours, he has just put the fucking pedal to the metal. So this episode, we are just going to put our dipstick into the old boy's cabeza, and we're going to just take the temperature of whatever juice is in there.
Yeah, we got to talk. The big boy in the White House, Donald Trump, has, you know, like Matt said, over the last 48 hours, said, I don't know, a half dozen of like some of the most insane, like, you know, again, in the alternate reality would be like each one of those little gems would have, you know, could warrant maybe a book or like a year-long news coverage
in
around
the
clock.
90s. Any one of them would have brought down a presidency and been all anyone talked about.
All right, where do you guys want to begin? I would like to begin with the new experimental stimulant that he wants to give to the troops to stop them from killing themselves.
Hell yes.
So Donald Trump, you know, in the light of a friend's recent suicide, has, you know, realized that psychology affects everybody. And what I believe he proposed today was giving ketamine to troops.
Yes.
He
that is what people, because like with all of these statements, he says the thing and then people have to read the chicken entrails to figure out what he actually meant, because in his cholesterol clogged brain, what comes out, it has very little relationship to whatever someone told him. And he said today that on the question of veteran suicide, there's a wonderful new drug from Johnson & Johnson. They won't do it anymore. They won't kill themselves. It's a stimulant. It's great.
He says it has shown a tremendously positive effect. And he goes, this is a form of stimulant where if someone is really in trouble from the standpoint of suicide, it can do something. It's pretty well known. It just came out. We have calls into Johnson & Johnson now. We've been talking to them for 2 months on buying a lot of it. And then he also said, like, at a good price, too. So that's all you got to get in the deal, you know?
Well, that's like, I mean, I feel for him, whether you're just like a guy who's possibly on a European tour for your podcast or, you know, the president. It takes a while to like figure something out with the Ket man.
Well, that's the thing is people figured out what he was talking about. Like when I heard stimulant, I thought, what, are we going back to like World War II and everybody's just going to be whacked out on Dexedrine? We're going to bring back Tanker's chocolate stuffed with fucking bennies? But it turns out what this is referring to probably is that they have created an aerosol nasal spray of ketamine, which is not a stimulant, Donald.
Quite the opposite.
Opposite. It's a fucking horse tranquilizer. It's a literal horse tranquilizer.
It is. The drug is called Spravato. It is a ketamine-like drug with the formal name esketamine, and a VA medical advisory panel has just sort of cleared it for use in treating things like PTSD and depression. Probably a good thing. And honestly, if he ramps up this ketamine for troops plan, soon after that, ketamine for everyone. We'll be doing campaign events for Donald Trump a little later this fall and in the new year. So
he's finally got me. It took a while, but he finally got me.
So
Virgil has already sworn his sword.
But what I like about this, though, is it gives us a chance to just sort of a few flights of fancy, just imagining Trump creating super soldiers with experimental drugs.
I mean, that would be good, but this just shows why we're going to lose the coming war. Because our idea for drugging our troops is let's put them in a K-hole so that they can watch BoJack Horseman and feel better about, the children they shot. Meanwhile, in China, they're injecting, industrial solvents into their brain stems to dissolve their ability to like feel fear and giving them like a fucking backpack full of time release steroids that's directly injected into their femoral arteries, and they're going to just start they're going to just destroy our troops by hand. They're not even going to use guns.
Private, what is your major malfunction? Is your imposter syndrome acting up? I want to hear you. Are you valid?
They're going to give the troops the drug nuke from RoboCop 2. No, but Trump needs to start. Felix, come on. He's got to start the Spartan program. The fall of Reach was a big defeat, a total failure.
And the Forerunners, they had a great thing, but they had these little guys, but there were a lot of them. A lot of little guys become one big guy. And the big guy, he was in a big library, bigger than 100 bookstores put together. And bookstores used to be bigger, and that's something we're looking into. But what they did was they made these rings. And I'm not talking about the rings, I see a lot of people in the crowd. You are out of central casting for a proposal they would see in a book or a movie or a TV show. These were big rings that they took out all the little guys, all the flood. And they call them the flood because when you open those floodgates, oh boy. So we're gonna look into possibly bringing the Forerunners back. And we got some guy, the most handsome guys we ever seen. 7 feet tall. They all have single names, and they're gonna fight. They're gonna fight on the rings.
Fall of Reach, total defeat. How stupid are we? But the Spartan program, we're gonna make so many Master Chiefs, and they're quite frankly, tremendous.
This guy, Lord Hood, more handsome even than Christopher Lambert.
I took Cortana furniture shopping. She's all blue.
Miranda Keys is very nasty. Bye, honey. You don't look so good anymore.
I'll take it for you guys' word that that's all very funny.
You never played Halo Combat Evolved, Matt?
I never did.
Wow.
Wow. That's a formative experience.
That was the most fun to play for me.
Silent Cartographer was, I don't want to get into it.
All right.
It showed, okay.
Great level though. Amazing level. It had everything in it.
And that was also like, what was cool about Silent Cartographer? When you're like 10, you're like, man, that's some dope ass shit to call some other shit.
Yeah.
Cartographer, I want to be that.
Yeah, I feel like
that's like a doctor who has a gun, right?
Yes, when I was 10 and playing that.
Okay.
So stimulants, well, not stimulants. Trump is totally wrong.
We're
about
putting
that.
the troops in a K-hole.
We're gonna get all ketted up.
Yeah. No more foxholes, just K-holes.
We're gonna get
There's
ketted
no
up.
atheists in a K-hole.
All right,
right.
so this is the new documentary, Why We Vibe.
We're gonna get ketted up with the troops.
Excellent.
Yeah,
That's gonna
100%.
happen. That's gonna happen. Not a stimulant. Quite the opposite.